Καλημέρα σας και από μένα. Θα ήθελα να πω ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ στην κυρία Τζούλια. Είμαι χαρούμενη που είμαι σήμερα εδώ. Θα ήθελα να πω ότι στον Πειραιά μας λείπει το πράσινο. Στον Πειραιά, στο πλαίσιο του Ευρωπαϊκού Προγράμματος Ορίζοντας 2020, proGIreg, εφαρμόσουμε τις λύσεις βασισμένες στη φύση. Στην πόλη του Πειραιά προβαίνουμε στις εξής λύσεις. Η πρώτη λύση, αναβαθμίζουμε την οδό Μαρίας Κιουρί, που είναι μια εμβληματική, θα έλεγε κανείς, οδό, τόσο λόγω του ονόματός της, όσο για το λόγο ότι περνούσε παλιά το τραμ και ένωνε την Αθήνα με τον Πειραιά. Εκατέρωθεν της Μαρίας Κιουρί, εμπλουτίζουμε τους χώρους με κατάλληλα φυτά που βοηθούν την επικονίαση και την προσέλευση πεταλούδων. Δεύτερον, αναβαθμίζουμε τις αυλές σχολείων με βάση το συμμετοχικό σχεδιασμό στο οποίο συμμετέχουν μαθητές, γονείς, δάσκαλοι, καθηγητές από το Πανεπιστήμιο, στελέχη του Δήμου της Υπηρεσίας Πρασίνου, η υπηρεσία που εκτελεί τελικά το έργο. Με τον τρόπο αυτό μαθαίνουμε τα φυτά στα παιδιά, τα μαθαίνουμε να φυτεύουν και να τα ευαισθητοποιούμε αναφορικά με την προστασία του περιβάλλοντος. Είναι βασικό γιατί στον Πειραιά έχουμε πάρα πολύ λίγο πράσινο και προσπαθούμε να κάνουμε το καλύτερο για την πόλη μας. Εγώ αυτό έχω να πω. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, κυρία Αντιδήμαρχο. Είναι μεγάλη μας χαρά που την έχουμε κοντά μας και έχουμε και ανθρώπους που μας στηρίζουν με τέτοιον ενθουσιασμό. Θα δείτε στη συνέχεια και στις παρουσιάσεις που η ίδια μαζί με τα παιδιά φυτεύει και βοηθάει και κάνει με τα σχολεία του Πειραιά. Μακάρι να είχαν όλοι οι δήμοι από μια τέτοια δήμαρχο και αντιδήμαρχο.
Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Η αλήθεια είναι. I mean, ναι. Okay, yes. Okay, we are starting our presentation. So first I said thank you very much, the Vice Mayor. It was a really pleasure to have, a really honor for us to have here with us today, and honor for the proGIreg project. We had already yesterday some kind of activities with her and with our coordinator, that is the University of Aachen. That is also very important for us to be here in Pireaus, to be here in Athens, and see the site that we have to upload, so to promote actually. But she will show you first what is the proGIreg program. So, Margot, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, I think I probably stand.
Okay.
Well, I'm here on behalf of the coordinating university, which is Aachen, and my colleague.
Just a moment. Okay, I found it.
Yeah. So can you hear me better now? Thank you very much for inviting me and to introduce you to the proGIreg project. If you can go on ahead. We are EU Horizon 2020 project, which is the same as euPOLIS. Let me tell you what proGIreg, which is a little bit of a difficult term, what it actually stands for. It stands for Productive Green Infrastructure for Post-Industrial Urban Regeneration. What does this mean, and what are we doing? Can you go?
Yes.
What we're doing is having established living labs in 4 so-called front-runner cities, which are 3 in Europe, in Dortmund in Germany, in Turin, Italy, and in Zagreb, Croatia, and 1 in China, in Ningbo. What we're doing is trying to develop and test and innovative NBS to, particularly in post-industrial urban regeneration areas, in order to improve living conditions, environmental conditions, and social conditions. We also have 4 so-called follower cities, of which one is Pireaus. That's why we're here. And the other ones are in Portugal, which is Cascais. We have Cluj-Napoca in Romania, and Sjenica in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And what we're trying to do there is basically what we've learned, the experiences we've made of co-designing and implementing NBS in the frontrunner cities is to replicate and transfer this knowledge to follower cities for them to develop urban plans. So they don't have living labs, but it's more on a strategic level to think of what they can do long term within their local planning framework. Just so what we're doing specifically in these living labs is testing 8 different nature-based solutions, which are some concern really sustainably and multifunctionally managed ecosystems, such as urban gardens, urban agriculture, such as improving pollinator diversity. But we also have nature-based solutions which are more about creating new managed ecosystems, such as aquaponic systems or green roofs and walls. And I will come to this later, what this actually means in co-design.
Continue.
Can you go one further? So, what are we trying to achieve? The beauty about nature-based solutions is that they have multiple benefits, and this simultaneously. For example, while you foster biodiversity, you also use resources efficiently. You contribute to climate change mitigation and adaptation, which is absolutely necessary in terms of our future challenges we are facing, in urban regeneration and in urban development, as a whole. But also we're looking at improving social inclusion. We're looking at improving, the health, public health, and also the well-being of improving and enhancing the urban quality, of our living labs. I just quickly. So this was a quick introduction to what we are doing in proGIreg, and now I would like to talk about really, our approach to participatory design, participatory planning, in the co-creation process and in co-designing nature-based solution. And the co-design approach is really at the heart of, green transformation and of, the proGIreg project. And this is, this transdisciplinary approach is based on the so-called quad helix model. What does this mean? It means that, you involve 4 key stakeholder groups, in the co-design process and the co-creation process, which is, of course, the local authorities, which are, absolutely necessary. It is private sector actors, but it's also, importantly, it is the citizens, the civil society, and the academia, which can contribute to evaluating and coming up with methodologies, how we approach the designing and implementing of NBS, in this project and in other contexts. If you go one, traditionally it was more of a top-down approach. Municipalities, thought of projects and they were implemented, and what we are trying to do is basically redistributing responsibilities among these stakeholder groups, so it's of course the municipalities and local authorities are very important stakeholders, but we want to have the other partners as equal co-creators, in designing, in implementing NBS. If you no further. No, I think it's jumping a little bit. So I think yes. I think it's better if I do it, because I I put some animations in. So when we look at the co-creation process, I think the main point about it and also challenge is really systematically engaging all stakeholder groups from the very early beginning. So it is about the co-design stage, then going into co-implementation, because if you have especially when you involve the civil society, if you have them involved in the co-design and also in the co-implementation, you can create a greater co-ownership, citizens' ownership of these implemented NBS, which will ensure greater sustainability of them. I think that's really a key point, and not always easy. And I will come to this, especially when we look at all these complex challenges we face in urban regeneration. What I would, what is also important, and especially when you look at the first stages, the co-design, it's about building stakeholder networks, really looking at who are the stakeholders from all the different streams of the quad helix are involved, from the ministry level down to different departments within a municipality, because you will have to work cross-disciplinary. You will have to work with many different departments, which is definitely not very easy. We've made these experience in our living labs in the different cities. But if you really do this, early on in the process, and your target groups, and if you then really look at tailoring this to the specific NBS you want to implement in your living labs or in your urban regeneration area, the more focused you can go about, and you can involve all these stakeholders from the early stage to get everyone on board, and basically so we're pulling in the right direction. No, you can.
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
So, technology.
So I have to read from here now.
Okay. What we did in the project, after having had the experience, we compiled guidelines for co-designing, and we also developed a set of generic, what we call co-design principles, in order to have this framework of generic principles, but which can be locally adapted. And that is very important, because you always have a local context, you always have different conditions which you have to adapt to. One further. And these are the different principles we have come up. They're all important, but I would like to highlight a few. creating a common vision for your urban regeneration area or the NBS you want to implement is really key, because this will ensure that people understand what has to be achieved, and will potentially sort of pull all into one direction. Being transparent means you have to communicate to your target group what these NBS can actually achieve, and what is the value for them, for the users of these implementations. This is also a very a barrier which we have encountered in the experience of the living labs, that it is really necessary to raise the awareness of the benefits of NBS, because we from so coming from this project logic, of course we think nature-based solutions is the way forward, but this needs to be communicated. So that's really a very important part of this participatory planning process, and of course, thinking about it long term, because we need sustainability of NBS, and this also means that we need to think about really integrating the NBS we implement within a project framework. That these are sustainable, and that they feed into the local planning frameworks, because otherwise, this after the project end, you may not have one, who is co-maintaining this, and it is really, taking this on and keeping, keeping the spirit, and also, keeping the benefits for the local community alive. When it comes to sort of designing in participatory processes, you find that some NBS, which we are testing within the proGIreg framework, are sort of easier to really get people on board, and because they have a lower complexity. And these are, for example, creating urban gardens, or doing urban agriculture, or improving pollinator diversity, because they are not they're not as complex. You don't have you don't have many planning permission procedures and so forth. So, this makes it easier. However, there are, some which, when you look at the level of engagement of stakeholders and the complexity, we also have some, which are about creating newly managed ecosystems, such as aquaponic systems, or green roofs and walls, and also new soil. You need a lot of expertise. You need technical know-how, and you will have to deal with planning permissions, especially because we are in post-industrial areas. This means we often deal with contaminated soil. We had one example of, or we're still working on it, and it was almost about to fail, was the aquaponic system in our frontrunner city in Dortmund. The initial greenhouse that was planned couldn't be erected because we actually found that the soil is still emitting gases, which could, of course, harm the vegetables we wanted to grow, and the fish we wanted to rear for, of course, food production and food consumption. So many different departments had to be consulted. I mean, it was incredible, and basically it was meant to be implemented last year. It's still not implemented. We almost had to cancel it, and at the very end, we were able to turn it, but also because, and this brings me back to what I said earlier, we didn't involve all relevant stakeholders from the very beginning. because we, in getting stuck in all the details about the planning permission, we forgot to see how we actually going to maintain and sustain this aquaponic system, which is a 1,000 square meter greenhouse. So it's not a very small intervention. And then we finally got the right, the relevant stakeholders on board, which said, yes, we will take this on because it fits, within our sort of framework, in our methodologies and in our portfolio. So this is why, I can't stress enough, to really, when you do participatory planning, to think of all the relevant stakeholders and get them on board very, very early. So that brings me to my end, because I think my 10 minutes are, are up. So it's just, reiterating that the challenges we face when co-creating is dealing with complex administrative planning frameworks. So this must be kept in mind. But I said, so involving everyone is I think the key success factor, and raising awareness about the benefits, among the target groups, but also among the stakeholder groups you are involving, is something that needs to be done from a very early point onwards, and integrating these NBS implementations into the local planning frameworks is also a goal we need to have, and we will look at this a little bit closer when my colleagues talk about the urban plans in the follower cities, where we try to do this, integrate this into local planning frameworks. So in the long term, NBS can be one area and one type of measures which we use to alleviate all the challenges we are facing in urban regeneration and urban development. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speakers. Is it,
Yes, it's the Urban Sofia.
Okay, so Urban Sofia is is it one of our partner in the proGIreg project that dealing mainly with, dealing mainly with the participatory design and also with all the participatory activities. And they're going to show us Emilia and Codrut, what they have done. They came actually from Romania and from Italy, here all the way to show us what they are, and of course Margot from Germany, we said that, what they have done in for the whole project, actually, mainly for the task that we have also in Piraeus, and then we're going to show you what we have done in Piraeus.
Okay. Hi. Can you hear me? It's okay?
I think it's close. Okay.
No, you should hear me. Yeah, that one, yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. Okay, nice to meet you. My name is Codrut Papina. My colleague Emilia Budau, we represent company Urban Sofia. So before talking about follower cities and how they are replicating good practices from other cities, we want to go a little bit into detail of what is each nature-based solutions. So as a parenthesis, each nature-based solutions is actually a typology of interventions. There are many different solutions. there are many different solutions that can be implemented under one nature-based solution. For example, we have the first one, leisure activities and clean energy on former landfills. The landfills are quite a difficult type of terrain to manage within urban developments, but nevertheless, there are a resource. So proGIreg wants to transform this type of landfills into energy fields with solar power or into leisure and sport activities, leveraging on the slope of the terrain. For nature-based solutions too, we have new regenerated soil. So past industrial activity left a mark on the environment. And as Margot said, many of the soils within these neighborhoods are contaminated, and front-runner cities are experimenting with how to mitigate this problem using ecologic solutions. About the third nature-based solutions, I just want to mention that is a wide variety of possible interventions, from urban agriculture to actually therapeutic gardens, working with disadvantaged peoples. About aquaponics, it's a really technical and innovative solutions to produce food locally in a self-sustaining ecosystem. The NBS 5 green walls and roofs, I think is pretty much is clear. What I want to add is that green roofs can also be outside and inside, and they are especially helpful in very dense urban environments like Pireaus, which is a very dense built environment city, and they can also be productive in some way. You can grow vegetables or other types of plants that you can use locally. For nature-based solution 6, accessible green corridors, yet again there is a wide variety of uses. You can have vegetation alignments, you can have green paths, you can have green buffers, or even ecological corridors protecting the natural environment and improving the local landscape, especially for post-industrial neighborhoods. For the seventh nature-based solutions, there is a local environmental compensation process. It's a different way of promoting ecological and green transitions through negotiations, through local policy, through gamification. The eighth nature-based solution, which is pollinator biodiversity, is really important because it can go transversally for the other nature-based solutions, because when you have good biodiversity in urban environments, the green infrastructure becomes more resilient to climatic changes or anthropic influences. So what is Frontrunner cities are doing so far? This is a map of Living Lab Dortmund. It's experimenting with solar energy, sport infrastructure, one interesting intervention which is a food forest, producing vegetables for the local community, and another important intervention which is the aquaponics that Margot already spoke about. Here are some images about the Living Lab in Dortmund. For Turin, Turin planned a powerful green transformation of the Miraforis Sud district. They are working a lot with the local institutions, schools, for community gardens and didactic gardens. And a couple of days ago, Pireaus already did a small action on a local school. A really interesting initiative, you can look at the first image, Green Wall at Homeless Dormitory. They are growing vegetables that they are going to use for meals, free meals for the homeless people. So it's a sort of sustainable and economically feasible solution. For Zagreb, we have a reduced number of interventions, but they are really valuable for the local context. We have a green connection connecting the southern neighborhood to the center of the neighborhood through a bike path and green corridor. We have Zagreb has a really powerful urban culture of community gardens. So one of the interventions is to modernize those community gardens, and a really innovative solution is the therapeutic gardens that they have implemented. They are working with a group of disadvantaged people. It's therapeutic through horticulture activities. So people, the disadvantaged groups, are working with their hands in a therapeutic approach, and also the design of the intervention is therapeutical in some way. Ningbo, which is our frontrunner from China, has a really difficult situation with the urban lake, which is contaminated due to anthropic activities, and they are trying to remediate this problem with aquatic plants to clean the water and also improve the local landscape. And to conclude, what is the potential of nature-based solutions? In the scenario of having a powerful and integrated implementation of nature-based solutions, you can really talk about a new type of city, a biophilic city, integrating nature and really be a really symbiotic relation between built environment and nature. So that system can be productive, as in environmental services, energy, and food. It can be a catalyst, improving air quality and mitigating with pollution. It can be ambiental. When you are interacting with nature, you feel more at peace, and the psychological effect of nature on humans, it's quite beneficial. And it can also be ecological, biodiversity, natural resources, and so on. Now I pass the mic to my colleague.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so sorry. I will go a little bit more into the detail of how this replication process is happening in follower cities, so what we are concretely doing with these 4 cities Margot introduced before. So while frontrunner cities are starting from the implementation and are observing the post-implementation impacts on the local context, follower cities are asked to follow a sort of reverse approach. So they are learning from frontrunner cities, and they are trying to understand which one of these nature-based solutions can be adaptable to their local context, and also to finally create a strategy for integrating the nature-based solution into the urban planning framework. This process is always followed by a continuous knowledge sharing between the 2 categories of the cities, so frontrunner cities and follower cities. So how we are doing this to support them in this process, 2 fundamental tools have been created. We have the replication toolkit, which is a set of lessons learned, which has been extrapolated from the frontrunner cities experience, on the basis of which suggestions and recommendations are being provided at both strategic levels, so a more general level covering all the phases of the implementation process of proGIreg, but also a more detailed operational level, so for each one of the 8 nature-based solutions. I will not go into the details of this, of both toolkits. So we have the replication toolkit and the roadmap. I just want to provide an overview, and I really invite you to consult the deliverables, which are available in the proGIreg official site. So this is the how the strategic replication toolkit looks like. How you can see, we have different topics which correspond to the blocks of the roadmap I will introduce after. We have recommendations and potential methods and tools, and also examples from the experience of frontrunner cities. For what concerns the more operational toolkit, it is divided for each one of the nature-based solution, and here recommendations and suggestions are provided according to the preliminary activities and strategic settings, also the involvement of the local community and the stakeholder engagement, and the concrete design of the nature-based solutions. This is the roadmap that guides the follower cities throughout their process of elaboration of urban plans, and finally integrating these urban plans into the urban planning context. Please don't get scared about the complexity of this structure. I can assure you that it's quite simple to follow once you get into the process. Here is worth spending some extra words. So this is a simplified structure. The roadmap is divided into phases. Each phase have different blocks, and the blocks are details into steps. For each one of the block, or when is the case, we have relation with the replication toolkit, whether it's strategic or operational or both of them. And we have also the information about rerouting points. So if it's the case, for example, to look back on the process and understand if it's the case to give a new direction maybe to the overall process. As mentioned, the roadmap is divided into different phases. We have the preparatory work, in which all the territorial analyses are being conducted, as well as stakeholder engagement plans and political involvement, which is a real big and fundamental component towards the integration process. The second one is the planning, the urban regeneration area transformation. The urban regeneration areas have been identified at the beginning of the implementation process. So through this phase, follower cities are basically really providing the content for the urban plans, the alternatives to be implemented, because as also my colleague mentioned, these nature-based solutions, once applied at the specific local context, takes different shapes and can provide different options. And really how to adapt it, or the set of nature-based solutions selected at local level. And finally, I'm saying finally because we have another phase, which is the implementation phase, but it's not really foreseen into the follower cities process. It can be possible, of course, and we are supporting them towards the achievement of the implementation. But we are focusing really on the replication process. So the last one is from the co-design to the co-implementation, which foresees the draft of the action plans. So really how to implement the planned solutions, what kind of funds are needed, and also how to ensure long-term impact through synergies with other projects and local initiatives that follower cities were invited to analyze at the beginning of the process, but also how to ensure the long-term commitment of the stakeholders and the ways in which the maintenance of the solutions could be ensured. So how you can see it's an iterative process, it's an incremental and process which is based on the frontrunner cities approach, but it's meant to be really adaptable. So follower cities have the possibility to really focus on aspects that are important for their local context. The activities are conducted following the co-design approach, which is at the core of the proGIreg project, as Ms. Margot mentioned. And this is conducted through workshops, which are present for each phase, promoting the local participation. The three different workshops regard a first workshop, which the majority of the city already implemented in their own way, so both online as well as offline, depending on the pandemic-related restrictions, meant to elaborate together with the stakeholders a first vision on the basis of common understanding of the opportunities, options, and local needs. A second one, which applied the scenario building approach, and we'll see really the stakeholders involved in the co-design of the strategic options to be further implemented through action plans. And the third one, really structuring the urban plans and discussing shared co-monitoring and co-implementation solutions for the nature-based solutions selected. All this contributes to reach the final output, the urban regeneration plan, that to be efficient has to have a strong connection with the local urban planning framework. Cities are already finding solutions for the integration. Some of them are already promoting connections with master plans, for example. We have Cluj that is planning the nature-based solution to complement the master plan, which is being elaborated for the Somesh River. We have, for example, Zenica, who already proposed the integration of a couple of nature-based solutions into the development strategies that is under constructions. And we have also others that started with a small intervention and are in the process of finding ways of ensuring long-term impacts and sustainability to the process. So really going beyond the small intervention and integration and integrating solutions into long-term plans supported by the local political will can ensure sustainability, not just to the single nature-based solution per se, but to the overall possibilities of regenerating areas through green interventions. And this is the aim of proGIreg. So this is it from my side, from our side. Thank you for listening, and please stay in touch. Here you have our contacts and also a QR code that directs you to the deliverables I mentioned before. Thank you. Sorry?
Okay, thank you very much. And actually, what Emilia and Codrut make, we are following as Pireaus city, and actually we're taking the directions to do our bit as Pireaus. So we are showing to you what we are doing. So the next presentation will be by me, where we're going screen stops there. So as I have been informed, there are 43 also participants online. Just for everybody to tell that at the end we're going to have like an exercise with a Q code, and we're going to have a questionnaire, online questionnaire. Okay. This one. Okay, full screen. Okay. Actually, we are now at the bit later. I mean, at the fourth actually presentation, and it's not full screen. Okay, it is. As you can see, we are all here from the municipality of Pireaus. Katerina is here. Of course, you all hear the vice mayor, Mrs. Karakatsani, Antonia, and we're going to present you. I don't know, it's not going further. Okay. Here is the map. We have Pireaus city as a follower city. Okay, so here are all the natural-based solutions that you heard from the previous speakers that the proGIreg project is testing. So in order, like a follower city, to see where we are going to give our input, we, of course, went with the directions that we had from Urban Sofia through the roadmap that you have seen before. And we did some kind of preparatory work at the beginning, analysis. We went through the vision of the area, the site and the NBS selections, the stakeholder groups. Then we went through the planning process, as you are going to see in a while. And finally, we are now at the point to do the co-design. The area Pireaus, that most of you know, the municipality of Pireaus. So we were trying to trace the green areas of Pireaus, and we were trying to see also where we are going to have our own intervention. Here are the different analysis map that we have done in the previous states also. So where we can see the green areas, the population, the urban planning, and all of these areas. For example, here you can see the green areas, but I'm not going to stay more here. Oops. Okay. Finally, after the analysis, we are focused in the street, as also the vice mayor mentioned, in Maria Curie's street, because our road or pavement, pedestrian road, because had many important issues there. So in order to see what's going on around, we trace the green areas that we can see here around the area. This was an area that was the old tram connecting Athens and with Pireaus was passing through, so it was a kind of symbolic road that stopped at some point, but at the same time there was natural vegetation start growing already in this area because it was a bit abandoned. That was important for us actually. Here are some pictures of the area. We can see the train line here. In some parts, we can see the traces on the train line and the grasses, the green area that try to grow inside. That was also, I said, an important element of that. And we are thinking how to develop this area. Here are some pictures. During the springtime, the natural vegetation is really going there and really going. We have the biodiversity. We have already counted several species of butterflies there as well, so that was very important for us. Of course, there are many problems. It's a bit abandoned, as I said, the areas we can see here. There is a parking area, really without any, as you can see here, you can park everywhere. Green areas, very poor. So we have discussed, we have done different consultations, questionnaires to the people, workshops, and one of them, we had a site visit to Turin city to see what they are doing with the municipality. And here is one picture of that. We have discussed what we can do also, because the Turin city, as Margot says, was the front runner city. So it was a city that we could get some ideas and try to implement. So what they're doing there, they're developing the pollinator biodiversity, how to improve, how to bring the pollination, how to bring the butterflies inside the city, with what strategies. One is that. The other is they are doing the green farming in the city. So we are start thinking about this solution and also about the accessible corridor. So after all of this, we try to develop these two NBS, natural-based solutions: accessible green corridor and pollinator biodiversity. Accessible green corridor was the idea of Maria Curie, as I said, and pollinator biodiversity was to bring the insects, to bring the butterflies inside the city and improve the biodiversity of the city. There are some pictures also again from Maria Curie that we can see that they are growing naturally. That was a very, very important thing for us. The area from another side. We try to see some different examples. How here is actually, this is from Berlin also, okay, and how is growing, and of course one of the most famous examples of the High Line of New York. So that's why also we start calling former rails and highlights, not High Line, but highlights, to give some highlights in our High Line, in our area. So having all these different examples, how we can develop an old former rail. We went also to see how are the other green spaces, not more natural areas, or what we can have in our area, like a sitting areas, like a playgrounds, how we can develop the area. And of course, the idea of the biodiversity, thinking how to, if we can make some, in some cases, to bring the birds, to bring the butterflies, to bring the bees somehow in some cases, why not, and to bring also all the biodiversity into the city. Again, with discussions, with games, with workshops, with the people, that actually the next presenters are going to show more about the participation. We start thinking about the different regeneration examples of the area. And actually, the next semester, we are going to have also the students of the West Attica University, is Maria Sinu, their professor, that is going to design also for this area. Maria Sinu Maro Sinu is hearing us not from online. So the area that was the parking area, we try to give some space for the children, some space for the people there to sit. And of course, the time of the coronavirus and the time of the lockdown, this is some pictures of the total lockdown of Pireaus, make us to start thinking a bit differently. Here, as you can see, the workers, they can just clean the grass without any car around. And also discussing with the people, with the vice mayor, all together, how to develop also and to make different activities in the schools. And so we thought to work and to develop this, the community-based urban farm and garden, we can develop that, discussing with the professors. We have here Professor Kolia, that is from the 7th Lykio of Piraeus. We did a big discussion about that with many professors, and we thought, yes, we can do it. So we traced all the schools in Piraeus, where to see where along the street that we want to develop, Maria's Curies Road. So here are the main schools. We tried to come in touch with director of primary school, δευτεροβάθμια and πρωτοβάθμια εκπαίδευση. And then we did some activities that we are going to show the next presenters, that is going to be Laura and Athina from Kian. They're going to show us more analytical what we did. Here we see some that the students are drawing. We gave them to draw the area and to see how they want to see their garden. And then we can see that finally we are trying to do the planting. Here is Laura, here is Vicky. So the planting with the children and how we can develop this. And here we can see this Karakatsani, the vice mayor, she's also planting. Here is the drawings that the students did, okay? And this is actually what finally we are changing our direction, and we are thinking to develop these 3 lines: pollination, biodiversity, accessible green corridor, community-based urban farms. And as you will see in the next presentation, we also try to find and plant the plants that attract the butterflies with flowers and all of that. Thank you very much. We are proceeding now with the next presentation. An architect and very active, helping us a lot.
Good morning to everyone. Me and Athina, we are representing KEAN. KEAN Cell of Alternative Youth Activities is a non-governmental organization that is partnered in proGIreg together with the Municipality of Pireaus. And we will tell you about the activities that we did with the community and especially with the schools. So here, as Julia already explained, oh, sorry.
Yes, go.
Okay. As Julia explained, the main NBS nature-based solutions that we are concentrating on are number 8, which is related to pollinators, and okay, and number 6, which is related to the community gardens. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
As Emilia presented before, we are now on the... Oh, it's a little bit destroyed the presentation, but okay, we can continue. As Emilia before presented, we are now on the phase of the selection of stakeholders. On June, we had the first kickoff meeting with stakeholders from schools from the 7th High School of Piraeus and representatives from Municipality. By now, we have already 2 of the schools engaged, the 7th High School of Piraeus and 5th Primary School of Piraeus. The thematic approaches of the activities was focusing on environment, sustainability, like water saving, new cultivation methods, recycling and composting, sustainable development, biodiversity and extinction of species, atmosphere and climate change.
That's okay.
Firstly, we asked the kids to plan and design how they would like the school to be shaped, or the neighborhood, and design the map of their neighborhood. Here you can see some drawings of the children that make the school yards and how they would like to be the neighborhood at the area of Mariaki roads. Would like to thank a lot the headmaster of the school of Piraeus and the representatives of Municipality. They've given us the chance also to get into the school. Some of the benefits of the creation of school gardens are the improvement of the school environment, the improvement of the microclimate of the area, and the opportunity that children and students have through the natural activity to collaborate between them and achieve a common goal. Of course, moreover, they have the opportunity to gain more knowledge about the nutrition values of the knowledge about nutritional values of local products from the vegetable gardens that they make in their own school. How we can connect the school gardens with the classes and the school curricula in this project. They can connect it through the geography, biology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, health, household economy classes, history, arts, and of course language like Greek and English, where they can learn about the name of plants and their nutritions. Here you can see the first meeting that we made on school. Laura will get a more explain of this.
So we first went to the 7th Lyceum of Piraeus. We met the professor that is here today, and we discussed about the green spaces and the activities that the professor and the students carry out already in the school. And so we discussed about how we could improve the gardens of the school and how we could engage the students and the municipality also in the improvement of the spaces. So here, we are sorry for the presentation sometimes. It has some problems. Here you can see the photos of the new green spaces that we created together with the students in both the schools. And here you see the pictures of the students collaborating with us in the plantation of the new species for the gardens. Here you see also Julia and the municipality and the vice mayor helping us with the plantations. And another activity that we did with the schools and the students was the questionnaires. We prepared a questionnaire for the students to test and assess a little bit the knowledge, existing knowledge, let's say, of the students regarding nature-based solutions, biodiversity, and regeneration of open and public spaces. So here we will briefly show you a little bit the results of this questionnaire. Here you see that most of the students know already what biodiversity and what nature-based solutions are. They know a little bit less what a green space is or what a blue space is, because maybe are more technical terms that we use in the design, but students, they are not used to these terms. And here you see that most of the people use actually green spaces without knowing the terms. Most of them, they use the parks, the public parks or public avenues. And most of them related the use of the spaces for relaxation, for entertainment, and for the sense of joy and happiness. So with this, from this we know that it's important to promote these areas, to regenerate them, because it has a value also for them. And here you see that most of the kids didn't know the area that we want to include in the project. So this gives us a hint on the fact that we need to communicate better the project and involve them in the co-design process. And we did also questionnaires with the teachers, not only with the students.
And the main takeouts of the questionnaires was the need to regenerate the green areas of the chosen site, like Maria's Curie Road. The will that the teachers have to improve the connections between the schools and the green areas, and to be involved more in the future phases of the project. In addition, Kian organization has the Planet Book game, which is the first environmental board game for children, of course. Already it has been distributed over 700 schools and youth organizations, not only in Greece, but only in Africa, America, and all over the Europe. And we have also, except the board version, also the floor version that we play in schools, in theaters, in open spaces, and parks. And that's all. Thank you very much for coming in our session.
Thank you very much. I think actually we have closed somehow the presentations that we want to show you for proGIreg project, starting from our coordinator, so as what is the aim of the project, what the front-runner cities did, then going to the Urban Sofia partner that they show us how the participatory design and these tasks are going on. Then we saw how both me and then Athina and Laura, how we are implementing the natural-based solutions in Pireaus. But since we have another very important project, euPOLIS, that is going on in Pireaus, we decide to merge this session with the two projects, and so we are welcoming our next speakers from euPOLIS project. Sorry? Okay, we can also, I thought to have the online at the end. Is it a problem? No. Or it's something that, no? Oh, okay, yeah. Eftychios, is okay to wait 10 minutes? I don't know. I hope so. It is. Okay. If it is like that, yes. Okay, if it is like that, it's better. Okay, because I don't know. Maybe it will take us.
Good morning, everyone. I presume that you can hear me. However, I get no feedback in sound from your side.
We can hear.
Okay, thank you very much. It's lovely to meet you all of you here today. We've seen really a lot of ideas, and we have started getting the point that the nature-based solution is not a trend that it will fail through time, but more and more people would like to attend. That said, this presentation, and allow me to share my screen. Actually, I will share my entire screen. I presume you can see it right now. And if you have a clear vision on the screen, on the presentation, we could proceed.
We don't have anything yet, Eftychios.
Allow me then to read. Yes, of course, share. I did not press correctly the share button. So, I'm back here, and let's start discussing a bit about the euPOLIS project. And in particular, we would like to demonstrate some case scenarios in which specific solutions have been adopted or are planned to be adopted, trying to help people improve their daily lives and well-being. The idea, just like the other sister projects, let's call them, remains the same. We have an area in which we try to implement various solutions. Solutions including pocket parks, mini biotop nodes, including aquatic biodiversity. We would like also to have some solutions for surface runoff quality and flood management, which is actually a major problem these days and expected to be in the future. We would like also to have some water, energy, and greenery nexus by abstracting green water. We would like to have canopies because we are people and we want to gather in such areas to start communicating a bit further and, of course, improve our lives. And then, of course, there's always the possibility for live vegetations, shaded waterfronts, and any type of plants that can somehow reduce, mitigate any air pollution problems. Of course, except from all this, we have roof gardens, which will try to promote some any type of performances, or maybe some techniques for water purification. At any case, there are too many ideas that can be implemented. So the question is always, which one of them should someone utilize and how? In our case, we will start our trip in Poland, in the city of Lodz, if I pronounce it correctly, where you can see an existing area. This small park, which literally few hundred square meters, has too many possibilities. Please do not misunderstand me. We have already greenery there. The question is how we can create something better, which people will appreciate more and improve their daily lives. So in these cases, the plan, the current plan, through the euPOLIS project, I mean, includes street shading, includes some conditioned pathways, rainwater harvesting, water tanks, because it's a nice thing to have practical rainwater harvesting. Then, of course, we have some roof collectors, canopies, of course, because we emphasize on socializing, vertical gardens, because if the horizontal space is not always available, we have alternatives these days. And last but not least, we have runoff management and quality improvements, including some detention basins or retention ditches. And last but not least, we have some rainwater-based drinkers and shelters for the animals. As you have understood, in this case, emphasis was given on rainwater harvesting and reutilization. But now, as we left behind the city of Lodz, we shall proceed to Italy, in Palermo actually, and more specifically in the Villa Turrizzi, or something like this. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, apologize for that. The idea here is that we have already some greeneries in the area. However, what they try to achieve is to improve livability and well-being, just like all the other projects in this area. The main goal, however, in this case, was to preserve the remaining traces of agricultural heritage that exist in the area. You can see some, of course, screenshots in the meanwhile. And by preserving the existing nature-based infrastructures there, they can also protect animal and greenery biodiversity. And of course, it faces the same problems as pretty much any other modern place. This includes smog, warming effects, building speculation. The challenge, of course, was to restore the right hydrogeological balance in the area, which by turn would improve the outdoor living conditions, and that is feasible using any type of NPS. For example, microclimate controlling, pollution controlling, and regeneration of the existing ecosystems. So let's say that existing streams, which have been covered due to roads that are no longer viable or no longer utilized, there should be demolished and return back to the nature. The idea, you can see here the schematics, the drawings for the entire concept. And you can see that the very first step on this approach would be the surroundings of the so-called former railway station, which now is out of use, and therefore it can be help them serve their daily lives a little bit better by providing parks. But that was also the idea for Italy. And this is the surrounding area, by the way, which has greens, but not the quality and the amount that local residents would like to see. Leaving aside Italy, we will now travel to Trebije in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yes, pronunciation is not my strong ability. So the plan here is straightforward. Create a green island. And this green island should be accessible for the local residents or the travelers. And of course, that way they try to boost somehow the contact with the river mentality. Therefore, the goal, however, behind all this intervention was at first to handle the floods, which is a common problem over there, and can be attributed to the discharge of reservoirs of the hydroelectric powers. And of course, at the same time, facilitate a bit the quality of residence by adding 2 wastewater treatment plants, bio wastewater plants. This case study involves an area Otto, in which can be seen with the arrow on the top right of the screen. The city has already started with the construction of the one part, which include bicycle and pedestrian paths along the river canal. Of course, there is always the possibility of planting further trees, rows of further trees, along the landscaping of the canal. And of course, the direct benefit will be the future shading. Last but not least, they are planned to build some public lighting, which will get energy through solar panels. Here is some further details on the applied solution. So, as you can see, the location is very closely to the city center. You could actually walk it if you like. And the planning involves, of course, green energy, keeping, and this is the important stuff, the existing landscape, start utilizing recycled water, and anything that intervention concerns will be so-called eco-friendly aesthetically. The current conditions of the sites can be seen here. And of course, you can understand how an, let's say, quaint landscaping can become even more good looking in the future and attract people visiting it more frequently, and by that involving their also well-being. Last but not least, there is also the possibility for architectural solutions, including, for example, panoramic wheels. And that was the case from the city of Trebingi. Last but not least, to conclude this presentation, we have Limassol in Cyprus. In this case, you can see that we have already a rather small park, which has already some trees within it. Nevertheless, within the euPOLIS project, they get the idea that multiple solutions can be integrated in confined areas, boosting the perceived quality by the local residents and improving their well-beings. So a rescheduling, a replanning is under consideration, in which you can see that they maintain a lot of the greenery and the theaters. Probably some water canals could be included, which help fighting the heat island effect. And of course, there is always the availability of planting local herbs there, and thus allowing to increase biodiversity and giving the local residents that feeling that they are more likely closer to nature than the current situation. That was pretty much our trip today in 4 cities around Europe and their planned interventions. Do not forget that you can visit at any time our project sites to get more details on the topic, or you can ask us directly through mail. Thank you very much for your patience and watching me so far.
Thank you very much, Eftychios, for the presentation. We are moving now to the last one, and the discussion will be at the end. Please, okay.
Κράτα μερικές βλακίες και... Εντάξει.
Eftychios, you have to mute your, please, your microphone. Okay, yeah. So we are going to have the last one by Tassos Eftychios. Okay. And Angeliki Paraskevopoulos and Tassos Karatasakis. Last presentation, presenting about Pireaus case study. And then we're going to do the questionnaire all together with the Q code, with your mobiles. Sorry for the delay, but we have some problems to go back from the online presentation to the in presence.
Sorry,
Stop sharing. Και μετά να κάνεις
Okay.
Ωραία, θα το φέραμε.
Thank you, everyone. Let me take off my mask for the presentation. euPOLIS project is a project where Pireaus city is a front-runner city, and the aim of the project in general is to implement NBS nature-based solutions in order to improve the well-being and physical health of citizens of Pireaus. I won't get into details about the project of the general facts of the project because we have to catch up to the program of this meeting. So, the areas where euPOLIS will intervene in Pireaus is Area 1 is Mikrolimano, Area 2 is the Laveri Coast, and Area 3 is Rallio Pilot School, which is an experimental elementary school. In order to go into to explain euPOLIS, euPOLIS goal isn't to just add more green in Pireaus, but can you hear me? Yeah. But isn't that just to add more green space, but to design the green spaces in a way that they will provide a pre-calculated multi-parameter benefit. So the plan isn't to plant a tree, but to plant the most appropriate tree. And although some may think, okay, this is a job of an agronomist, not a job for people to interact and design, there is no point in designing a green public space without having in mind how the citizens would like to get involved with the area. So citizens need and must lead the way. Okay, we did it. So the plan is to design sustainable blue-green solutions with the active involvement of citizens on a bottom-up approach. This approach ensures that the process is performed with the absolute participation of its citizens and in harmony with internationally accepted principles of sustainability. We have mapped and identified who the stakeholders are for each of the three areas, the individuals and groups that will be affected by the outcomes of the planning process and may be able to influence the outcomes of the planning process. We have created a communication channel with them using effective, traditional or not, engagement techniques, encouraging open and inclusive dialogue so as to collect as much information we can about the needs of demonstration site users. As a result of COVID, a lot of useful tools have been emerged, enabling direct communication, direct voting, simultaneous feedback gathering, and easy and fast post-processing of the gathered data. In order to have feedback also from citizens that may not be familiar with or comfortable using technology, we provided old school questionnaires. We visited the sites and asked residents, visitors, employees, and people living there. Now, let's get to another example, our example, which is the Rilot Pilot School. What we were given to work was the idea to have a green roof on top of the multi-purpose building of the school, multi-purpose room building of the school. We had a meeting with the stakeholders of the school. When I say stakeholders, I mean the school headmaster, teachers, and parents. Their request was to have an accessible green roof. They wanted pupils to interact with the green, perhaps even practice gardening. This need changed the design because, first, the roof isn't currently accessible. And just creating an opening in a wall won't make the roof accessible because it isn't safe to be up there. There is no guardrail. Also, the roof hosts. Also, we live in Greece, which is a country with seismic activity. So we have to make sure that the roof can host a garden, can host pupils, that the roof wasn't designed to host people, and be safe for the children there. So in our next meeting, we provided this. This is an accessible green roof with various plant types and species with different qualitative traits, permeable surfaces for pupils and teachers to walk on, an outdoor classroom, and raised plant beds for growing plants. And after the second meeting, the appropriate question was asked. Did you like what you saw? That's the part of the interaction with people. Leaving for a bit the co-design part of the project, in order to quantify the impact of the interventions, we are setting up a volunteers engagement plan to measure the contribution of the project to the quality of life and well-being of the demonstration area users. Residents, employees, professional athletes and visitors, some wristbands will be wear for them and measure some data. Now, what are the challenges of euPOLIS? First on, there is trust issues and pessimism. Greek citizens are not accustomed to participate in public consultations on urban large-scale design. Secondly, we have training issues. Citizens haven't been trained on how to participate in an action like this. They sometimes attend a meeting in order to address another existing issue that they want to get resolved. When they understand that what we can do is forward their message but not resolve it, they disengage. Also, we have health and safety issues. COVID has made it extremely difficult to interact with people like we have been used in the past. And the last bad phenomena is Greek tendering procedures. Lots of time is spent that would be used to plan better, but we have to wait for offers in order to pick the cheapest one. Public consultation is also a relatively new experience for Pireaus Municipality. We would like to know that the mayor, deputy mayors, the staff and the Environment and Greenery Division have all welcomed euPOLIS and support people engagement with the design process of those intervention sites. So, what we want as a legacy of euPOLIS in Pireaus? First, the blue-green solutions will increase the citizens' well-being, and this is the easy outcome. The following outcomes are what we want to create. We want city authorities to improve communication with citizens. We want both city officials and citizens to gain knowledge about NBS. City offices to develop and improve the tools and means of cooperation with citizens. Citizens to become more active and engaged in participations and co-creations. And civil society organizations to establish mutual connections and collaboration, but also better dialogue with the city officials. And create new hubs out of those interactions, replicating and improving the euPOLIS philosophy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thebes, for the presentation. Very interesting.
You're welcome.
And yeah, okay. Now we are going to invite Laura. Please prepare your mobiles, so to make a picture to your mobiles and go to the questionnaires. And in the meantime, if you think to have a question to any of the speakers, you're more than welcome. Εξαρτάται σε ποιον θα απευθυνθεί. Ό,τι σε βολεύει βασικά. Ό,τι σε βολεύει.
Because the questionnaires are live.
Ως την συντήρηση όλων αυτών που θα γίνει και γίνεται. Δηλαδή, αν αυτό θα παραμείνει στα χέρια αυτών που έχουν κάνει τα project αυτά, ή να το αναλάβει ο Δήμος μετά. Γιατί πάρα πολλοί project είναι το φαινόμενο να φτιάχνουν κάτι όμορφο, ειδικά στην Πειραιά, που είναι μια πόλη στην οποία αντιστοιχεί 0,7 τετραγωνικά μέτρα πράσινα με κάτω. Είναι το λιγότερο σε όλη την Ευρώπη. Και τα πόσα τοπάρια λοιπόν που θα φτιαχτούν, αν θα είναι ικανά να κάποιος θα τα συντηρήσει, ώστε να το χαιρόμαστε για χρόνια. Και όχι αυτό το συνήθειες που χτίζονται, φτιάχνονται και σε 2 χρόνια είναι κατεστραμμένο. Τι είναι, πόσο μπορεί να συντηρήσει ένα μέρος εδώ.
Ναι, η συντήρηση βασικά από τη στιγμή που θα την κάνει ο Δήμος είναι το θέμα του Δήμου. Εκτός βέβαια αν είναι και στα σχολεία μέσα και σε όλα αυτά που είπατε, ο Δήμος συμμετέχει. Δηλαδή και ουσιαστικά και στους αυλές των σχολείων και στο κτίριο. Έχουμε εδώ και την γεωπόνο του Δήμου. Δεν ξέρω αν θέλεις να προσθέσεις κάτι. Πιστεύουμε ότι ήδη υπάρχει μια τέλος πάντων δυναμική, τουλάχιστον όπως την έχω δει και εγώ, και με την Αντιδήμαρχο και με τους υπαλλήλους του Δήμου και του Τμήματος Πρασίνου και όλα αυτά, που τουλάχιστον υπάρχει μια... Δεν ξέρω, νομίζω κάτι θα προσθέσει.
Σίγουρα είναι ένα μεγάλο πρόβλημα, αλλά θα υπάρχει μια συντήρηση από το Δήμο. Εγώ εδώ και 2 χρόνια έχω αναλάβει, προσπαθώ για το καλύτερο. Καθημερινά έρχομαι επαφή άμεση με τους δημότες. Ναι, πραγματικά, ό,τι φτιάχνουμε πρέπει να συντηρηθεί. Γιατί αυτό προσπαθώ να κάνω όλο αυτόν τον καιρό στα 2 χρόνια. Και δηλαδή πιστεύω ότι αυτό το πράγμα το έχω αποκτήσει σιγά σιγά, το έχω καταφέρει. Ναι, ο Δήμος θα αναλάβει. Ναι, μας λείπει πολύ το πράσινο, δεν έχουμε πράσινο, αυτό προσπαθούμε. Ειδικά αυτόν τον καιρό, άμα δείτε, έχουμε βάλει 375 δέντρα καινούργια και στις 5 κοινότητες και προσπαθούμε να κάνουμε συνέχεια δεντροφυτεύσεις, γιατί έχουμε σοβαρό πρόβλημα. Ναι, γι' αυτό έχουμε σοβαρό πρόβλημα. Και αυτό κάθε εβδομάδα τουλάχιστον 40-50 δέντρα σε κάθε κοινότητα περίπου να γίνονται οι δεντραφυτεύσεις. Δηλαδή προσπαθούμε για το καλύτερο, γιατί ναι.
Η κυρία Σίνου, παρακαλώ. Δεν ακούμε.
Καλησπέρα και από μένα, Τζούλη. Ήθελα σε σχέση με την ερώτηση, ίσως να κάνω ένα suggestion, but in English, is it better in English?
Ναι, μπορείς να το πεις και στα αγγλικά για να καταλάβουν και οι... Ναι, in English, I think it's better to... Well, you can also tell about the question. Yeah?
Okay, I just meant to note that my name is Sinu Maro. I'm a professor in University of Wales Static. I'm an architect. And I wanted to say about this question that had to do about maintenance of the green, that at the past, while we were working in the Municipality of Athens at a joint project, we did some parklets there at the city center. We adopted this concept of the people adopting some of the vegetation. I think, Julie, that we discussed about this at a former time, and we found that it was it was also appropriate, but people engaged more when they knew that they were responsible for a specific spot or a specific tree, and that they had to participate in the maintenance of the specific vegetation. We used to call it adoption. So every shop had to adopt some part of the greenery of the area. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very important that, yes, the adoption of trees is something that, okay, it's true that what Eftychios said, that we had some problems in Greece for the people to participation, but for the citizens, but I think with different ways and methods, yeah, engagement, yeah. Thank you very much, Maro. So we are, Maro Sinu is a professor in the West Attica University in the Department of the Interior Architecture. Yeah. And actually we're thinking to have some kind of exercises also in the area next semester with the students.
Hi, Julie, we're having a discussion afterwards because I would like to note some things. I have noted some things, but afterwards, yes?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so just to wrap up a little bit what we did today with the small game and questionnaire, here there is a QR code, so you can scan it. Maybe I can send also the link in the chat. I don't know if that is possible. No. Not sure if I can do it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let me know from the people following online if it's possible for you to connect to the presentation with the QR code, or if you need the link.
Is it supposed to have some questionnaire here now?
The questions will follow.
I will follow. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the question will come later. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's try with the easy one. What is the name of the project hosted in this session?
Test.
Let's see.
Ποιο είναι τα προγράμματα που είχαμε σε αυτό το session.
Okay, so the correct answer is proGIreg. Good job, most of you got it. Next one. Which is the site selected for the urban regeneration in proGIreg in Piraeus? Let's see. The correct answer is Marias Curie Road. All right. Almost perfect.
You see everybody.
Great. Next one. Can you name some pedestrian areas similar to Marias Curie where you live? So we showed you this corridor, this road. Maybe you know other corridors in your area that you want to suggest and that you think about, where that they could be renovated or they need regeneration. Okay. Nice. I see many examples here in Piraeus and in Athens. Okay. Nice. Very good. Next one, how important is for you the regeneration of public urban areas? You can choose from there is no need for them to it's crucial for your life. We all love urban regeneration.
So the curves are coming straight away, eh?
Yes. So I can see that it's very important for all of us to regenerate our urban areas. And yes, all the presenters today try to reinforce this, underline this concept because it brings us many benefits. Now, let's get into the thing. Which are the priorities for you for urban regeneration? So you can use words to describe what is the most important thing for you in urban regeneration. What are the feeling that you want to have in a regenerated area, or what is the most important thing, element or solution to adopt? It can be in Marias Curie, it can be also in one of the other areas that you mentioned in the previous question. Okay, so we see that green spaces are very important, and also other elements related to comfort, for example, safety or clean hair,
Okay.
yes. And also related to community, so inclusivity, sense of community, maintenance, and mobility, such as bike lanes and so on. Very nice. Green is always in the center. And now let's see the other side. So which are the challenges? What is a barrier or something difficult in obtaining these priorities, let's say? So what makes this a bit harder, but not impossible? Ah. No? Ah, okay. Okay. A lot is related with bureaucracy and engagement of publics and okay. With public participation, government, okay. Accessibility is a big challenge, it's true. And also knowledge, communication, yes. Okay. Okay, now you can pick one or all of them. Which are the solutions, the nature-based solutions or other ideas that you would like to implement in these areas? So what are your favorite? What do you think it's more important now or has the priority? Ooh. Okay, we can. If you have questions about the examples, we can explain. But green spaces for pollinators is what we said before, to implement the green spaces in a way that host more pollinators, butterflies, insects. Gathering spaces is more related to the community, so to create the sense of community of a space that is not just to pass by, but to stay also. Community gardens are green spaces that are used by the community and managed by the community that lives around. Accessible corridors, again, is accessibility of the green space, not only to go there, but also as a way to move through the green spaces. Playgrounds, I think everyone knows. Water drainage gardens is related to the control of water, rainwater and excess of water through green spaces. So the fact that the water can go through the soil instead of running on the cement. So in this way, it's controlled better. Green walls, I think most of us knows what it is. It's green spaces on vertical facades. Very interesting to see how different nature-based solutions have, like what is more important and what is more urgent in these areas. Here you can add some ideas that were not included in the previous slide or that you think should be implemented in this area. How do you see in the future these areas in Piraeus or in Athens that you suggested before? So very nice. Very good suggestions, I see. So RES is reusable energy sources.
Wait, we didn't finish. The last one. Yes.
Thank you so much for participating in this game because it's, there are very interesting suggestions. Permeable materials. Very nice. Okay. One more question. What could be the role of schools in urban regeneration of this area? This is the last question. Because we spoke about the engagement of schools. So how do you think the schools could play a role in this regeneration? What could be the role, how they could have a part in this design? Very nice. Perfect. So just one more slide I would like to show to you. If you would like to be involved again in this project in the future phases, here are some examples. We can also skip this question, but this is just to tell you that you can be involved again in this project. So if you want to be involved again, in the next slide there will be an option to put your contacts and names, so that we can come back to you and involve you in the future phases. So I will go to the next slide. So here you can add your contacts and names. And thank you very much.
For participation in this, we actually stayed much more longer than we thought. I don't know if there is anything, any important or any question just before closing to tell something, or otherwise I think we have to move for the lunch. Okay, thank you very much to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.